Am I live? I think I'm live. Okay, let's check here. And yeah, I am live. I just heard the notification. Okay, hey everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong camera. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to Out of My Shell and Coach Michelle Jackson. So I was just reflecting. I've been trying to go live and had some distractions I had to tend to. But I was reflecting on a conversation I had with my daughter recently. I think it was on Friday, and it was about self care. And one of the things that happens when, oh my gosh, all these notifications. One of the things that happens when there's a new revelation to something we should be doing, a new kind of catchy conversation, when awareness is heightened around a topic, sometimes, even though the topic can be very serious, it can become a trendy topic. What does that mean? When we think about mental health and people throw that around and they don't really focus on the meat of mental health, it just becomes trendy, right? If we're talking about whatever the topic is of the day, hashtag me too, it can become trendy. And although it's birthed in a very serious life altering topic, it can be life altering. Often, if we're not careful, we can make fads of these things that are really serious topics. They're serious issues and things that we have to be mindful about how we're addressing them. So, of course, I have to throw in there self care, hashtag self care. And when we think about self care, especially during this mental health awareness month and every month, every day, when we think about self care, often, as stated earlier this week in my mental health talk, Let's Talk Mental Health live interview, it came up about self care because I did ask the question to my guest about how she focuses on self care. Oh, sorry, guys. Thank you for being here. I don't know who's out there, but I appreciate you. And so you can say something in the comments. I will definitely comment back. But when I think of self care, yes, sometimes, of course, I think about taking a bath and lighting candles. Hey, my son in love, how are you? Love you too. But when I think about self care, yes, of course, we can think about those lighting candles and taking walks and, taking care of your physical health, and you're exercising and you're riding your bikes or you're doing whatever. And we think of self care in that kind of fluffy way. And don't get me wrong, that is a part of self care. And not but, and self care is often saying no. Because so often, especially as women, and I'm not excluding all you men, but especially as women, we have a tendency of overextending ourselves and being people pleasers. And we want to make sure everyone around us, we're caregivers, everyone around us is taken care of. And then our needs are not met, and then we become bitter, and now we're ruining relationships because we're blaming people for not taking care of us, for not making us a priority. But we've put on the cape, right? No one forced us into that cape. We put on the cape and dun da da da, woman to the rescue. And we want to be all things to all people when only God can do that, right? So often, good self-care, balanced self-care, is saying no. I don't want to do that. And it doesn't really matter who wants to do it. No, thank you. You don't have to be rude, but no. And that is a way of caring for yourself, of not overextending yourself, because when you do that, now you're opening yourself up to negativity. You're opening yourself up to bitterness. And we don't want to create bitterness. Oh boy, every time I get on video, my husband decides he wants to make all the noise in the world. I'm just blasting him because we talk about this and he denied it. And now I have proof. I have tangible proof in front of this camera. But yeah, it's true. So that is my first tip of self care. Sometimes self care is saying no. No, thank you. I don't really want to do that. Often self care can be saying yes, the opposite. If you put something off forever because you've had these constraints and you've had these trepidations surrounding whatever it is. You want to write a book, but I've been so scared. I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not articulate enough, whatever. I want to open a restaurant. Oh my gosh, but I don't have I'm not a chef. I've only been cooking for a year. I've only been doing this for 5 years, and no one knows me. You want to grow your social media platform, but yeah, but nobody knows me. Who's going to listen to me? You want to go get that certification or that license or that degree. Yeah, but who am I? Or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. You're not too anything. You are fearfully, wonderfully, marvelously made, just as you are today. Yes, we can all stand to grow. Yes, we can all improve, but we are good enough today. Say that with me. I am good enough today, just as I am, without alterations, without conforming or contorting to be good enough for someone else. I am good enough today, just as I am. So sometimes self care is saying yes to that thing that scares you. I know first it was saying no. Now it's saying yes, because one of the things I learned about life, we are at our best, our greatest capacity when we are balanced individuals, saying no when we need to say no, and saying yes when we need to say yes, and breaking free from that fear. So sometimes self care can be saying yes to the thing that frightens you. Number three, sometimes self care is establishing relationship boundaries. What does that mean? Again, it kind of goes back to being all things to all men, all people, wanting to be everything, wanting to never disappoint people. No, sometimes you have to set boundaries within every relationship. And again, it's going to combat, it's going to preempt, it's going to be proactive as opposed to reactive. You're going to stop yourself from creating negative responses in your relationships or negative thought processes, because now you're walking around despising people inwardly because of the fact that you didn't set clear boundaries. I have so many examples, especially within the last 6 weeks, about setting boundaries. And I'm going to do something really kind of creative and fun, but it's going to be sharing a message about boundaries in a very clear and concise way. Because when we don't allow ourselves to care for ourselves, we just become doormats and we just take any and everything. And then we end up hating others and ourselves, despising others, resenting others and ourselves, when all we need to do to really show up and care for ourselves is to set realistic boundaries and then communicate those boundaries. You know what? This is the line here. This is the line that's drawn. Now, does that mean that you're not forgiving? Of course you can forgive. You can give people, a second chance, a third chance, if that's what you choose to do. But having boundaries establishes a verbalized level of self-worth. It lets people understand, hey, I can't just do anything to this one. Not this one right here. She has clear boundaries. And then guess what? That other person should have clear boundaries as well, because we're all beneficial and valuable. We all have value, and no one should be walking on anyone else. No one should be treating another person as if they don't have worth, because we all do. So, first, I'm going to just recap a little. Self care can be saying no when you don't want to do something. Second, self care can be saying yes to something that frightens you. Third, self care is about establishing boundaries in your relationships and even boundaries with yourself. Certain things I'm just not going to do. I have certain boundaries. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care how popular it is or trendy or faddish. Certain things Michelle is not doing. And the people around me already know that. So certain things they're not even going to ask me to do. I don't get high. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Certain things people are not going to do. And then they will show up and respect you on your level when your boundaries are set. I've had so many people give me gifts and it looks like a bottle of champagne, but it's sparkling apple cider because I have boundaries set. There are certain things I'm not doing. Now, other people can do them. There's no judgment, girl. No judgment, sis or bro. But as for me and my house, my spiritual house, my mental house, my physical house, my emotional house, certain things this girl's not doing. Okay. So boundaries. Number four, self-care is learning when you've hit your limit. Limits. Again, it goes back to overextending yourself. And I'm not talking about with other people. Now I'm talking about self-care is about if you know you're running on fumes alone, self-care is saying, you know what? I've been doing too much. My heart's beating too fast, palpitating, my blood pressure spiked, my sugar levels, glucose levels. I know black folks and sugar, but my glucose levels are too high. Everything's too high and skyrocketing. My health sucks because I'm just going and going and going. Self-care says, I need to take a beat. It can wait. Self-care says, no, I'm going to support my mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being and health before I pass out or before I croak and before I die prematurely. Self-care learns limits for others and for yourself. Um, Next, number 5, self-care is, this one's a hard one. Sometimes it's forgiving, but also, hey, Nene, I'm just now looking because I was looking at my list here. Hey, girl, yes, balance is needed. Boundaries is self-care. Yes, ma'am. Good to see you, Nene. But self-care is forgiving and sometimes moving on. That's a hard one because we're so accustomed to that word being, this huge task, this big feat that we have to accomplish. Oh my gosh, I got to forgive. That means I got to act. I have to act as if nothing happened. Forgiveness never requires that you become an actor. Forgiveness never requires that you now become a liar. I know I said what I said and I meant it. Forgiveness merely means that you have given someone the ability to not live the rest of their days being indebted to you because of something they did. Forgiveness means that you have decided to move on. Now, when I say move on, sometimes there's forgiveness and reconciliation. Sometimes there's forgiveness and no reconciliation. Sometimes you have to shake the dust, kick rocks, keep going the opposite direction, but you're not plagued by dreams of this person. You're not tormented in your mind every time somebody says their name. You're grinding your teeth. You're frowning all up. You're angry. You're all these things. No, self-care in that forgiveness means that you can release the person. And sometimes you have to release them physically as well as emotionally and as well as mentally. But then self-care can also be forgiveness and reconciliation. Is this person overall good for me? And they merely made a mistake. Because at the end of the day, self-care is just that. It is about caring for yourself. But when I care the most for me, I'm going to also care for others. That's automatic. Self-care is not about selfishness. It is about putting myself in a position to win in every aspect of my life. And then when I do that, I put others in a position to win in relationship with and to me because I'm showing up as my best self. And I'm not showing up drained, full of resentment, anger, hostility, frustration, tired all the time, frustrated. No, I'm showing up as the best version of myself. That is self-care. And last, self-care can be apologizing when you wrong someone, even though it scares the crap out of you. You're intimidated because of the guilt that you feel because you've wronged them. You're intimidated by the shame that you feel. Self-care can be releasing that weight and that burden and saying, I apologize. I really don't like the term I'm sorry because none of us should be sorry individuals, but I apologize. And the best way to apologize to a person is to never commit the same crime or act again. That's true sorrow. That's when you really know, okay, I am seriously committed to being better in that relationship with that person. And even if they decide, you know what, I can forgive you, but I'm not making space in my life for you anymore, you still never do whatever you did to them again. And that is one of the best ways to flow and function and show up in a way that is caring for yourself because you are releasing the burdens and the weights and the shame and the guilt and all these things from yourself so that, again, you can show up as the best version of yourself. So, just to recap, self care can be saying no when you don't want to do something. Self care can be saying yes even when you're frightened. Yes to something you want to do, but it scares the crap out of you. Self care, number three, can be establishing relationship boundaries. Number four, self care is about learning when you've hit your limit with yourself, that you can take a beat and you can stop overextending yourself to the point of sickness, to the point of illness, to the point of imbalance. Self care, number five, is about forgiving and sometimes moving on, or sometimes reconciling. Self care is also about apologizing when you've wronged someone, even when it scares you to acknowledge and take ownership of that thing. See, I want to get out of the concept of self care being these fluffy physical things that we do. We're lighting candles, we're turning around in circles, we're playing music, and all that's good. If you need some music therapy, great. You need some art therapy, you need some reading therapy, you need some journaling. Do all those things that help you to unwind and balance your emotions and your mental health. But also in your daily life, operate in self care by learning your boundaries, by learning when to say no, by learning when to say yes, by learning how and when to forgive, by learning how and when to apologize. All of these things are also forms of self care. That's all I have. I hope you have create a tremendous Sunday night and an incredible Monday. If you don't have the life you desire, you were created with creative abilities. You go out there and you create it. And when it's secured, you reach back, you reach down, and you teach someone else how to create the life they desire. Thank y'all for watching. If this will help us, help us. If this will help us, someone. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? My tongue has been tied all day. If you think this will help someone, please share it out and help someone else to actively, efficiently, and effectively execute self-care in their lives so that we can all show up as better beings, right? That's all I have. Bye, y'all. Thank you. Bye. Take care.